They left the Apache warrior woman for dead after she lost her legs. Only one cowboy helped her. Spring 1881, Arizona Territory. The land around Copper Ridge was bone dry and silent except for the wind. The sun was mean, it didn't warm, it burned. Bad land stretched out everywhere, broken only by dead brush, sharp rocks, and old trails worn down by wagon wheels and horses. Near a narrow ditch at the bottom of a hill, the ground showed signs of a recent fight. Black blood crusted into the dirt. Broken weapons. A piece of torn blue soldier cloth. Empty water bottles. Horse tracks and boot prints going every direction. There had been a battle here just a few days ago. And in the middle of it all, she lay still. Iona had once been a fighter with a spear in her hand and her back straight. A warrior by her people's way of thinking, respected, smart, and tough. She had fought beside men, not behind them. She knew how to ride, how to fight clean, and how to move without being seen. But all that ended 3 days ago when a blast hit. A cannon fired too close had torn both her legs apart like raw meat. Her people couldn't carry her. They didn't have a cart, and the soldiers were coming fast from the west. Her own brother made the cut with shaking hands and tears on his face. He used a hot blade and wrapped what was left as best he could. No time to talk. No time to explain. Just one last look between them. Then he turned and followed the others into the hills. They left her a skin of water and some leather straps. That was it. For a while, she thought they were right to leave her. The pain was terrible. Fever came and went. On the first night, she passed out. On the second, she woke to find ants crawling on her belly. Her arms shook too much to brush them away. By the third day, her skin had burned from the sun. The dress she wore had been torn in the blast, hanging open at the chest. She didn't scream. Screaming didn't help. When he found her, she didn't move. Caleb Reed was 36, born in Missouri, raised hard, became a soldier young. He fought for the South in a war he didn't believe in. After that, he tried mining, cattle work, even bounty hunting, but nothing lasted. Finally, he bought a small piece of land in Arizona with his last army pay and kept to himself. He didn't talk much. Didn't drink either. Folks in Copper Ridge thought he might have gone half crazy after the fire that killed his wife 3 years back. Some said they'd seen him stand for hours at the edge of his field, just staring at nothing. Today he was following 3 stray cattle that had broken away from his herd. Their tracks went north across dry flats and into the edge of the ditch. He rode slow, rifle across his back, wide hat low over pale blue eyes. His horse, a thin, dusty gelding named Storm, stopped suddenly near the edge of the gulch. Ears up, breathing slow. Caleb narrowed his eyes and looked through the shadows between brush and stone. Then he heard it. Not an animal sound, but a rasp, almost human. He got down, hand brushing his gun, and walked careful toward the slope. His boots kicked up dirt. Heat rose off the rocks. Then he saw her. He froze. At first, he figured she was dead. Her body was twisted, half covered in dust. Arms spread out like she'd fallen from high up. The smell of dried blood and sweat hit him hard. But then her chest moved, barely. A shallow rise, then fall. Caleb stepped closer, crouched down, looking at her face. Apache. Her dress had once been decorated with bone and hide. Now torn open across the front. He didn't stare. Her lips were cracked. Her eyes half closed. He could see the cloth tied around her thighs, thick, dark, soaked through in places. The wounds looked bad, but not rotting. Not yet. He took a step back and thought hard. If he left now, she might last another hour, maybe 2. Taking her meant trouble. Risk. A sick Apache woman on his land would be a death sentence if the wrong people found out. But she was breathing. He let out a long breath, took off his hat, looked around once, then stepped forward, bent down, and slipped his arms under her back and beneath where her knees should have been. Her body jumped when he touched her. Her eyes opened wider. She saw him. Her look didn't beg, didn't thank, just held his gaze like someone waiting for judgment. He didn't say anything. Just stood, balanced her weight against his chest, and turned back toward his horse. She groaned once, the sound hoarse and broken, but he didn't pause. Back at the ranch, the wind had picked up. Dust swirled across the ground as Caleb rode in with her in one arm. The house sat alone, a one-room cabin built from split pine, patched in places with metal sheets. The barn leaned like it was tired of holding itself up. He carried her straight through the door and into the house, placing her down gently on his bed, a narrow frame with a thin wool blanket and one worn pillow. She didn't speak. Her face was tight with pain, but her eyes moved, tracking the room, studying the walls, the weapons, the shelves. Caleb went to work. Got clean water from the barrel, set cloth to boil, took a cut-off stool and used it to rest her legs. The dress had to come up carefully, without looking more than he had to. He peeled back the cloth from her thighs. Her body went stiff, but she didn't stop him. The stumps were angry red, swollen, split at the edges. He cleaned them with water and pine sap, packed what he could with moss, and wrapped them again in clean strips he tore from an old bedsheet. His hands were rough, but his movements were slow and careful. She didn't cry once. When the sun went down, he lit a lamp. She was asleep by then, or passed out. He sat across the room at the edge of the table, arms folded, watching her chest rise and fall. Iona woke before dawn. The light barely touched the inside of the cabin. She stared at the ceiling. Her breath was slow, shallow. She reached down, touched the edge of her leg. Nothing. Still gone. Her throat got tight. For a long time, she didn't move. Then she heard it, boots outside. Not rushed, just steady steps across dirt. He came in with a tin bowl and set it beside her on the crate that served as a nightstand. Bread soaked in broth. She didn't reach for it, just looked at him. His eyes didn't look away. He didn't ask her name, didn't explain why she was there. He nodded once, then turned back outside. That's when she said it. Silent man. Her voice was rough, dry, cracking, but she meant it. He paused at the door, didn't turn around, then walked out. They didn't know it yet, but neither of them would be alone again. The days that followed fell into a pattern, slow, hard, and quiet. Each morning, Caleb rose before sunrise. He kept his habits, tending horses, splitting wood, carrying water. His limp slowed him down, but not by much. Inside, Iona taught herself how to move again. Caleb built her a rolling platform, flat, low, with small rails and cloth padding on the base, a seat she could use with her hands. The wheels came from a broken cart. Her palms got blisters by the second day. She ignored them. When she reached the stove, she tried to lift the pot, dropped it once, cursed under her breath. The pain in her belly from trying made her stop for the rest of the day. But she didn't stay still. By the end of the week, she could reach the table by herself, grab the side with both hands, and pull herself up in the seat. Caleb had added small blocks underneath so it didn't slide when she pushed. She never thanked him out loud, but he noticed she stopped calling him Silent Man. She just said his name when needed. Soft. Direct. Caleb. 2 days later, she caught a fever. It started with sweat. Then came the shaking. By nightfall, her lips were dry and her skin hot to the touch. Caleb checked her head once, then got to work. He brought water in small cloths, wiped her chest and face. He boiled willow bark in a pan and made her drink it when she refused. She spit once. He tried again. When the fever got worse, she groaned in her sleep, clawing at the blanket. Caleb sat beside her and pressed her shoulders down, firm but gentle. Her fingers dug into his arm. He didn't pull away. That night, she whispered names in Apache, some broken, some clear. Caleb didn't know the words, but one came through, Kaya. He guessed it was her brother. He was right. She broke the fever the next morning, eyes heavy but clear. Caleb had barely slept. You stayed? She asked, voice rough. He nodded. You're still here. It wasn't much, but it mattered. He didn't run. Even when she screamed, even when she burned, he stayed. Spring deepened. Days got longer and the air turned warmer. The land outside the cabin stayed quiet. No riders, no travelers, just wind through the brush and the occasional cry of a hawk circling above. Inside, The rhythm between them held. She wore one of Caleb's old shirts, now wide, buttoned at the front, cinched tight with a belt she made herself. Her dress had torn too far to be patched. He'd left the shirt folded on the foot of her bed 3 mornings ago. Didn't say a word, just set it there. That morning, she asked what he did before all this. Drove cattle. A little mining. Odd jobs, Caleb said. He was fixing a saddle near the barn door. Nothing I stuck with long. What happened to your wife? He paused. His hand stayed still. Fire, he said. 3 winters ago. Stove tipped while I was out fixing fence. Got back too late. He didn't lift his eyes. Didn't say more. Iona sat quiet for a while after that. She didn't ask more. The silence that followed didn't feel cold. It felt like something understood. One evening, she asked him to bring her outside. He hesitated. Don't want folks seeing, he said. There's no one out there, she replied. And I need the wind. He picked her up gently, carried her out onto the porch, and set her down on a wide bench he'd padded with blankets. The sky above was streaked with orange and purple. The last light of the day spread across the hills. She closed her eyes, breathing slow. Smells like fire's not far, she said. He looked toward the horizon. Someone's burning brush. Early clearing. She didn't ask to go back inside. Stayed still, eyes closed, face to the sky. Caleb sat beside her, hat in his lap. She shifted after a while, her shoulder brushing his arm. Not by accident. You ever touch a woman like this? She asked quiet. He didn't move. Like what? Not out of duty. Not out of pity. Just touch. He turned his head slowly, eyes searching hers. She didn't back down. Her shirt hung open slightly where it didn't quite button high enough. Her collarbones were bare. I'm not broken, she said. Don't look at me like I'm a ghost. I don't, he answered. Her hand slid across the bench and found his. She placed his palm against her hip, the curve of what remained. Warm flesh, scarred, but smooth. His fingers twitched but didn't pull back. She held him there. I can't feel it like before, she said, but I still want it. His breathing got deeper. She leaned toward him slow, let her lips brush his cheek, then lower until her mouth found his. She kissed him soft, not demanding, not fast, but like she meant it. He kissed her back. When they broke apart, she looked at him calm, unafraid. You sure? He asked, voice rough. I know what I want, she said. That night they came together slow, not out of need, but understanding. She pressed her mouth to his chest. He kissed the scar on her thigh. When he moved over her, it wasn't fast. It wasn't hungry. It was careful, real. And when they finished, he didn't move away. He stayed. She lay curled against him, breath warm on his skin. Her hand rested on his chest. You could have left me, she whispered again. He closed his eyes. But I didn't. In the dark, they held each other like neither had in years. Not since before the war, before the fire, before the bleeding. Outside, the wind died down. Inside, they didn't say another word. They didn't need to. They'd said enough. By early June, word had spread. A man named Marcus rode up to their cabin, clean boots, pistol on one hip, knife on the other. He was looking at the cabin like he already knew something. Anyone home? He called out, hand near his belt. Iona wheeled herself out onto the porch. She didn't speak at first, just sat there, one hand under her blanket, gripping the knife she kept tied to her chair. Who's asking? She said, voice flat. Name's Marcus, he said. Came from Yuma. Heard about a wounded Apache woman who survived a blast near Copper Ridge. Word's been traveling. Iona didn't blink. Word also says you were left behind, he added. Behind the barn, Caleb stepped out quietly, rifle in hand. He walked up behind the house and stood at the corner, out of sight. What do you want? Iona asked. Marcus shrugged. Some folks are offering money for Apache fighters. Doesn't matter about the legs, just the name. She felt something colder than fear. Not panic, something harder. You here for the bounty? She asked. He smiled. Just looking. Heard a story, wanted to see if it was true. Caleb stepped into view. Calm. It ain't, he said. The man turned, one hand moving to his belt. You Caleb Reed? Caleb didn't answer. He raised the rifle slightly. She's under my roof, he said. And she stays. Marcus looked between them, weighing his chances. He didn't find much to lean on. Caleb's face was flat, empty, the kind of look a man had when he'd already lived through worse. You draw, Caleb said, voice quiet. You won't get the gun halfway out. A long moment passed. Marcus lowered his hand, pulled his reins instead. No need for blood, he muttered. Ain't nothing here worth dying over. He turned his horse slowly and rode off. Not fast, but not slow either. Caleb didn't lower the rifle until the dust cloud was a speck in the distance. They know, Iona said. They always did, Caleb replied. Just didn't care until now. That night, they didn't talk much. After dinner, Caleb pulled up a trap door from beneath the rug under the table. Showed her a hidden space beneath the floor. Not deep, but big enough for supplies, a rifle, and a body or two. If we need it, he said. You built that for me, she asked, voice quiet. He nodded. After you had the fever. She looked at him for a long time, then leaned forward and kissed him slow. Not rushed, not hot, but full. When she pulled back, her hand stayed on his cheek. I'll kill for this place, she said. I already have, Caleb said. Later that night, as she lay against him in bed, Iona whispered, I never thought I'd belong anywhere again. You do now. There was no ceremony, no rings, no priest. But that was the night she called him husband for the first time, and he didn't correct her. 3 days later, they came. Not Marcus, 2 others in military coats. One got down from his horse. The other stayed mounted. We're here on Marshall's orders, they called out. Looking for a native woman matching the description of Iona. Considered escaped from lawful holding after documented fight with U.S. military. Caleb stepped out slowly. Rifle not raised but visible. She's not here. We got orders to search. Iona was already under the trapdoor, lying still in the dark space beneath the floor. She could hear everything, boots, voices, boards creaking overhead. You got a warrant? Caleb asked. This paper's from the Arizona Territorial Marshal himself. That's not what I asked. The men came inside, looked around, glanced over the shelves. One opened the barn door, stepped inside, checked corners. They didn't lift the rug, didn't test the floorboards. They didn't know where to look. Not really. When they left, the taller one turned back. You sure no one's been by? We've had sightings of her down this trail. Caleb didn't blink. I ain't seen anyone. They rode off. Not in a rush, but not slow either. He waited a full hour before lifting the trapdoor. She was sweaty, breathing hard, covered in dirt and straw. He reached down and pulled her up. She didn't cry, didn't say anything, just held on to him longer than she usually would. You didn't blink, she whispered. You didn't scream. The 4th morning after the soldiers left, Iona was up before Caleb. She sat at the edge of the porch, wrapped in her thick blanket, sunlight hitting the beads around her neck. The valley below was still not lifeless, but quiet in a way she now trusted. They're not coming, she said when Caleb joined her. He knew she was right. The search had passed them by. That afternoon, Caleb took her out past the North Ridge, first time they'd left the ranch together. He hitched the wagon and laid thick blankets in the back. She climbed up with effort, but she made it. When they reached a small creek bed, Caleb stopped and helped her out, carried her to a patch of grass under a crooked cottonwood. I used to come here with my daughter, he said, voice low. You never told me her name. Elena, he said. She liked to watch the frogs. Never caught one. She smiled. Sounds like someone I would have liked. You would have scared her, he said, smirking slightly. Only a little, Iona said. They sat there a long time. He leaned against the tree. She leaned against him. I've been thinking, she said. About the next part. What next part? This isn't just surviving anymore. Not for me. She looked at him hard, certain. I want to build something with you. Real. She pulled a small leather pouch from her belt. Inside it, a carved bone ring. Not perfect, edges uneven, but strong. She'd made it 2 nights ago while he slept. You took me in when I was nothing but blood and bone. No legs, no name left. You stayed. That's more than most men would do for a wife. Caleb took the ring, stared at it for a long second, then slipped it onto his finger. Then I guess I'm your husband now, he said. You always were. They returned before sunset. That evening, Iona made cornbread, her first time cooking start to finish. She burned the edges, cursed in Apache, and nearly threw the